Nice recording.
Written in these walls are the stories that I can't explain.
Hey, Dr. A.
Hi.
So I guess this video is a reflection of our podcast experience. Yeah, do you have any thoughts?
I really loved the interview part and getting to know, even though it was my dad, like his story, and I learned throughout it. So in the future, I kind of know what to do and what to ask to any other person I interview. So I learned a lot about oral history in general in that sense. So that was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the experience overall. I wasn't as scared as Audacity as a lot of my classmates were, just because I had used it before, and so I didn't think that it was going to be too much of a daunting task as they did. But I would agree with some of them that the podcast was kind of just not so much like the interview and the outline and like the handwritten portions or like typed out portions, but so much like putting the podcast together. If we would have met with Claire Davis at the beginning, like, you know, earlier in the semester, that would have been nice, so that we would have had more time to actually work on the podcast while at the same time getting more interview information.
Yeah, and I think also just maybe having like a rough draft due like a week before the actual podcast was due, and maybe getting feedback on it, because I felt like our end podcast, well, the comments that we did get, it was more for like a rough draft podcast, not a final podcast. So that's my only concern in that area, that I feel we could have done more with it. But overall, it was a great experience. I think I would have freaked out without Haley, and so lucky to have her. And I really, like I said, I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. Now, like, about the actual class, I think it was a really good, you know, like, way to tie in the actual class, because the first half of the semester, yes, I understand like immigration's movement of people, but it was so much more of a race class. And so this at the end, the last second, you know, back half of the semester really kind of did tie in the ideas and the principles, especially because we were including things from the books in our podcast. And so the podcast, no matter how difficult it might have been or how tedious, really tied in the entire class together.
I agree. And also just like I said, like the whole process of the class and all the readings were very, very interesting. But like you did mention, they were concerned about race. Although I do understand that in America, that is a huge issue. I think it was created here in America because not anywhere in the world they don't really look at race. So I feel like that was a very important component of it. But I feel like I would have personally liked a little bit more immigration actual stories. But the podcasts are great in that they fill in that gap.
Yeah, they tied it in. Yeah, like, I mean, I know what immigration is just because I'm a poli-sci major, but I only know what immigration is from like a policy point of view. And so like really getting down to sit with your dad and learning about immigration and his experience was really where it tied it all in. So I see where that connection was coming from. That's the connection that you were wishing for.
Yes. Overall, great job, Dr. Alaman, and we love the class.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear like next year's, like, or you know, if it's done again, their podcast, because it will be 10 times better.
I think you should definitely do this class again, and maybe take our pointers or our reviews in consideration. And I think it's a great class, and you did a great job teaching it, leading discussions. I enjoyed being in the discussions, and
it was
made new friends,
which I love.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a Scott now, the diversity panel. Thanks to the immigration class. On point. But I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Have a happy holiday. See you soon.